we're pro-crime. You get that, right? You think, well,
the state is, not us, just to clarify.
Well, no. Thank you, Alex.
Wow, we would have never believed this. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Google. Go out there and listen to us. So we're excited about it. We're glad you're excited about it too.
Hey everyone, welcome to Relevant Rants. I'm here with Alex Howe today. Tom's out on vacation, or I don't know, maybe you should message him and ask. So we got a few things to talk to you about today. First up, if you aren't aware, you should be aware. Kevin McCarthy is no longer the Speaker of the House. And we were having a conversation about that, Alex, earlier.
For sure.
And we're like, because you were saying, well, I'm not sure, I don't understand why or whatever. Like, the reality is, like, why is Kevin McCarthy out? Because he was doing his job, frankly. So what we have here is wherever we are, right? We have the entirety of all the Democrats plus 8 Republicans came together to get McCarthy out, because when he became Speaker, part of the negotiations was that it only took one person to get a vote to get him out, right? So because the Republicans have such a slim majority in the House, it didn't take many Republicans to side with the Democrats. And of course, the Democrats are, we want him out because they just want to create dissension and problems and turmoil in the Republican side. So they're like, yeah, whoever it is, we want him out, whatever, right? Because they were going to vote for that no matter what. But so what we have is the extremist Democrats, which pretty much all of the Democrats are extremist socialists. Maybe not all of them, but let's just go with that for now.
Allegedly.
Right, allegedly. And really, frankly, an extremist faction of the Republican Party, what some might refer to as the MAGA Republicans. And the thing is, I agree with some of what they have to say, and there's some of what they have to say that I don't agree with. There's some of what the Democrats would have to say. Very small percentage, but some of it I would agree with probably. Mm-hmm. But you don't agree with everyone. I don't agree with everyone. I didn't agree with everything Kevin McCarthy did. I don't agree with everything those 8 Republicans did. I don't agree with everything the rest of the Republicans did. I don't agree with anything that Alex has to say. I'm kidding, but
save me.
But I don't always agree with Tom. We all have our own opinions, and if we didn't, right, that wouldn't be very good, because we need to actually think about things, think things through, and have our own opinions about things. But that's why we have the freedom of speech, right? First Amendment. But anyway, so Kevin's been outed for passing a continuing resolution, which, if you don't know what that is, do you know what that is, Alex?
I do not, actually.
Okay, so continuing resolution is, the budget appropriations bill was up for vote, and they had to decide, okay, what are we doing in the fiscal year 2024, because we're going into new fiscal year. And they had to make that determination by, I believe it was last week. I don't know the exact date, so you're welcome to correct me in the comments if you want. Or else there would be a government shutdown.
And basically, he just prevented that shutdown, and that's why. That's one of the reasons why they voted him out.
So essentially what that means, continuing resolution, is we're going to just continue doing things the way we've been doing them. So, but now we have a Congress that's divided. Obviously, it's been divided for a long time. You get Democrats, Republicans, but the Republican side alone is divided. And there's 2 potential people that are looking at it. Probably, most likely, Jim Jordan's going to get it. But there's also Steve Scalise. But it was a Republican from Florida, Matt Gaetz, that called for that vote of, I think it was a vote of lack of confidence or something like that. I forget exactly what it's called, but basically they were able to remove Kevin, and Kevin's like, well, I'm not going to run again. I'm done with this.
Right, I'd be done too. Like, that's
right.
Infuriating.
If you all remember how much trouble he had trying to
just to get officially get in there, yeah.
Right. So he's like, I'm done. I'm out. And reality is, like, it was probably going to be very tough, if even possible at all, to get that vote done, right? So they now in the next, because the continuing resolutions through the middle of November, they have essentially like 6 weeks to get a new Speaker of the House voted for and in, which that took probably longer than that to get Kevin McCarthy in. I don't remember exactly how long it took, but it took quite a long time, and get a new budget passed. So we're going from, we can't agree on the budget, but why couldn't we agree on the budget? Because the Republicans wanted to remove a lot of the funding, which naturally they should. I think it's no mystery. It's no question that for a long time we've been overspending in the U.S. government by orders of magnitude, right? Like none of us, business, personal, no matter what size your business was, you couldn't get away with that and stay in business, right? But they're just like, oh, we'll just take on more debt. Well, like they're using money. At this point, they're just using debt to pay for debt. Like they don't even have any money, right? So, but the Republicans wanted to remove, some funding from some of the alphabet soup organizations that have essentially become a SS secret police of the Democrat Party, going after their political rivals and all those things. Exactly. And the Democrats are, throwing a fit about that. You guys can't do that. Well, actually, not only can they, but they should, right? So Republicans are like, yay, let's cut some of the funding. The Democrats are like, no, we don't want to cut some of the funding. And but with all of that going on, Biden's been using the FBI, CIA, ATF, and
all the
DOJ, right? All the alphabet soup organizations. Yeah, exactly. To go after political opponents, but it's backfiring on them, right? So now the DOJ has ordered Hunter Biden investigators to remove any reference to Joe Biden in the FARA probe warrant.
Oops.
Yeah. Whoops. But if you read further in that article, like it's like some pretty deep, what would be the word? Basically, not conspiracy, but corruption. Some pretty deep corruption of no, let's not go after Biden. Well, really, we're at the point where even the Democrats at this point, they're like, this guy's like guilty of sin. Like we can't even protect him.
I was not even alive yet, but I remember hearing about the Watergate scandal in history books and how pun intended, a drop in the bucket that is compared to what's going on now.
Oh, it's crazy. Well, and because that was not the entire, Democrat Party, and they weren't selling out to foreign governments and, frankly, my opinion, allegedly, whatever you want to say, Alex, so that you don't have to edit it out. Biden's just a pawn of the Chinese government,
I believe that.
And so we get Biden out. Who are we left with?
Come on.
And another pawn of the Chinese government, Gavin Newsom, right? And talk about the Gavin Newsom crime family that goes back 4 decades with the Gettys, Pelosi's, Browns, and Newsoms. There's just a long chain of corruption and like really going down that rabbit hole. And so we had an article that was published a few years ago, but I think it's still relevant. It's not outdated necessarily information. It's just factual of all the connections. So basically we have one mafioso, if you will,
exactly.
That's been running the state of California. Now they want to run the entire U.S. government. And how deep down this rabbit hole do you want to go, right? But Gavin was recently, not that long ago, on Hannity, and he was talking to them about gas prices. Well, it's no question, other than if you're Gavin Newsom, maybe it's a question. Gas prices in California are outrageous, freaking outrageous.
If they keep climbing up, I might ask to work from home on non-filming days.
I mean, right? Like, it's just like you can't even afford to drive anywhere.
Exactly.
Like, I remember we used to take our 30-gallon Suburban. Used to cost us, like $30, $45 to fill up. Before we got rid of it, it was costing us like $200 twice a week to fill up. And it's just,
my car is approaching 80. No, it's probably 85 now.
Yeah,
it's
for
like
your
my little Subaru.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
So here's what Newsom had to say when he was questioned by Hannity about the gas prices.
$1 a gallon in every other state.
Yeah.
$7 I saw here. Why is your state nearly twice as much?
As of today, I monitor this very closely. I just did a special session. We became the first state in the country to do price gouging legislation with a new monitor just went into effect.
That you have to price
These
gouge?
oil companies are ripping us off $2.
They're only ripping off California?
$2.06. This mystery surcharge that they've been advancing for years and years.
Right. But the average around the country is $4, and I saw anywhere between $6.50 and $7.
$2.06 higher. You're absolutely right.
No, your state is much more than every other state.
Exactly. $2
Why?
higher. Because they're screwing us. There's no justification.
It's not regulation.
Yeah, who's they?
Taxes.
They is the state government.
85 cents.
They
85
is
cents. Low
Gavin.
carbon fuel standard.
How much does California get per gallon for gasoline tax?
When you add the gas tax, you add cap and trade, and you add the low carbon fuel standards, and then periodically add, and I'm being as transparent as I can be, and you add our unique
as
blend,
he can be, which is none
you
at
get
all.
a differential
Usually when
around
someone says,
85
"I'm being
cents.
transparent,"
That
they're
you can
usually
justify,
lying.
not $2.06. That's where the
So you're
oil
admitting
companies
you should
are
be
screwing.
$1 more a gallon. When Donald Trump was president, gasoline prices nationwide never averaged $3 a gallon.
Let's keep making that up.
No,
No,
you don't
that's
make
actually
it up.
factual.
We're energy independent, and now we're
I'm
not.
angry
energy
because they're
independent.
right.
No, we're not.
Energy export.
So anyway, no question, Gavin's full of shit. But he wants to do this to the entire rest of the country. So if you're out there and you're a liberal, hey, good luck.
I keep ramping up gas prices and then blame big oil.
Right, because it's big oil's fault that it's significantly more expensive in California than every other state in the union. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the rising price of oil, but the lack of refining capacity, special blend that's only required in California, high taxes, cap and trade program, all of that. So the thing is, California is like, well, it's more here because the oil companies are gouging. No, like you're putting special regulations that are causing the cost to be higher, extra taxes, like all of these things. California has a unique blend, right? That's just required for California. What's so special about it? Well, what's so special about it is it's kickbacks to the government because they have to make gas more expensive. Because really, at the end of the day, what are they trying to do? They're trying to force everybody to be in an EV. Right.
I was going to say, at Super Bowl hat time, do you think this is all just a ploy to kind of make that argument for the 2035 EV only sales kind of thing?
No, it's 100% what it is, right? Because, but reality is like it's not even a feasible thing. First of all, we're not ready for that. Right?
I can't afford another car, like.
Right. I mean, great point.
Let alone EV.
Right, but the infrastructure is not ready for that, right? The vehicles themselves are not ready to replace gas vehicles in what we need them to do. They can't go the distance and all of those other things. There's not charging stations. Yeah, if you're just traveling around LA City, sure. But if you want to drive to, say, Phoenix or beyond, like, no, it's unrealistic.
And then a $20,000 repair to replace all the batteries in 10 years.
Right, and exactly. And not to mention the fact that, well, it's better for the environment. Bullshit. It's actually worse on the environment.
It's actually worse for the environment.
Proven time and time again. I mean, here's the thing. Who's the biggest seller of EVs right now? Tesla. I like everything Elon Musk is doing. Well, let me say everything. I like a lot of what Elon Musk is doing, right? But I think it's a good option for some people. But I don't think you can, in my family, we drive significant distances, replace all of our vehicles with EVs.
I actually think that EVs will probably have a more relevant place in motorsports than actually on the road.
Yeah, well, and not to mention the fact that the electrical infrastructure, the grid in California alone cannot support all vehicles being
especially
EV.
in the summer.
Right. It's just, I mean, we already have.
And if we're going to do all this government
else.
spending, may as well just give everybody free solar panels, so at least we're all benefiting from it.
Right? I mean, for sure. But but that's not the only thing in California, right? So California, we have high gas being pushed by Newsom, who wants to be your president. Good luck. But also, like, it's incredible the crime, right? So you remember the police officer that was gunned down in gangland style, cold-blooded murder?
Yeah, we talked about it last week.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about that, and the district attorney in LA is not pursuing the death penalty. And what he said was, oh, well, if we thought this could bring him back, then we would pursue it. No, bullshit. We have, and criminals are being emboldened because we're not taking action on disciplinary action. We're not enforcing the laws. Okay, so why send him to prison at all? Right? Because, well, send him to jail. That's not gonna bring him back either. Or just slapping him on the wrist. That wouldn't bring him back either. For the rest of his life on the taxpayer dollar. Right. I mean, you gun down a police officer. If people understand, hey, you do some crazy crap like that, there's going to be consequences. There's going to be ramifications. It'll lower it. But what are they doing? It's increasing.
Also, dark take. Well, not super dark. I think you're going to certainly agree with this. I think if someone gets a death penalty, why not just take them out back? Firing squad. Like it's. Right. It's more humane than making them wait on death row for 10 years
Well,
and then getting
why
an
they had firing
outdated
squad. Do you know why they had firing squads?
Yeah, I believe because only one person has the round, the rest have blanks, right?
But no one knew who it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was to spare the people from that,
From the
right?
trauma.
Because when you pull a switch on an electrical chamber or electric
one person
chair,
doing the actual deed, yeah.
Right, exactly. Actually, I think they do have it set up now where it's multiple people, so they still kind of don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But and even with the injection, I think it's kind of the same way. But the thing is, like, yeah. Let's spend a bunch of taxpayer money to put him in basically probably better conditions than this guy lived in his own house.
Yeah.
Feed him. He can work out have some rec time. Let's not seek the death penalty.
I could actually maybe if we could work out a deal, I could do some nonviolent crime, and then I could just work from prison, so I don't have to pay rent and all these things,
Yeah, I mean, I have heard stories about people in prison having businesses and everything.
I think there's actually a podcast that's being broadcast from a prison.
It's freaking nuts. Yeah. But the thing is, like, this is my belief. This is intentional. They're trying to increase crime. They don't want to bring down crime because they're trying to create chaos. Because ultimately, what is the big agenda? To bring about socialism.
Yeah, government dependency.
Right, exactly. So, but California is not the only state. If you guys remember Daniel Penny and the Jordan Neely deal, Jordan Neely being the crazy guy that was threatening to hurt and kill people on the subway in New York City. Daniel Penny being the guy who was really just trying to protect people. He pled not guilty, so right now he's
rightfully so.
Yeah, right. Look, this is. They're trying to make an example out of him.
No one would care
if you do something about crime, you're in just like in freaking California, right? And we'll get to some more about this in a minute. But just like all of these stores and everything else, you're allowed to shoplift, as long as you do it. Bring 20 of your friends, whatever. As long as each of you are under $1,000 a piece, you can do 20 grand, and it's perfectly fine. And oh, by the way, go resell it on OfferUp and eBay and everywhere else.
We can make a trip because there's some equipment that we could probably use for the business, right?
Yeah,
that's a joke. I'm not planning on doing anything.
You better not be. But if you do anything about the crime, well, then we're gonna make an example out of you, right?
They get the firing squad.
But New York's not the only place. California's not the only place. New York City's not the only place. Even the subways, the trains in Boston, there was some kids, a group of without being racist, we could say they were black.
Yeah.
Right. They were
stating facts should not be racist.
Right. I mean, frankly, 100%. Right. Yeah. So they were intimidating and bullying and threatening and causing physical harm to people on the train. And so, we have this going on all across the board, but where do you see most of it happening? In the blue cities and the blue states. But even blue cities in red states, right? Because we're pro-crime. You get that, right? You think, well,
the state is not us, just to clarify.
Well, no. Thank you, Alex. But they're pro-crime because they're not punishing the criminals. They're punishing the law-abiding citizens. They're wondering why all of these stores, like we just heard about Target, that's closing several stores in big blue cities, New York, Chicago, Portland, San Francisco, all these places. Why? Because crime is legal. Because they can't afford. They're going to go out of business. Who wouldn't? By just, we're losing money every day by people just stealing our stuff. Those people are going and reselling it. Do you know that, Alex? They're going and reselling the stuff. They're not just like, oh, I'm going to take this to my house. And
no, that's why else would they take stuff like?
Right. So this is and they how to actually came up with the term for this. I believe it was ORC, organized retail crime, where it's basically like almost like the mafia's new way of doing things. So they're
getting a group chat and just all meet up at the same time.
Let's all go sell some stuff, and then we can split the proceeds. Right. So anyway, but meanwhile we have the politicians, as would be typical, that are just tone deaf to the way that their citizens feel. So I'm going to play a clip real quick about AOC and how she feels about the immigration problems that everybody in New York City is frustrated with, including their own mayor, but who has no backbone because he's controlled by the same people that she is, because he's a puppet too, and they're not doing anything about it. So let's play that clip real quick. Okay, so
when New York City Mayor
crazy.
Eric Adams said 100,000 migrants would destroy his city, most New Yorkers heard it as a battle cry. It was the first time a Democrat had ever been so bold. Democrats were walking through a third world country in Midtown and pretending everything was fine. Well, the mayor realized we were going bankrupt and the sanctuary city dream was dead. But today, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez held a press conference in Midtown Manhattan, the heart of the migrant crisis, to declare no. The sanctuary city dream lives on. And suddenly, AOC had walked into a war zone.
Close the border! States of America! Yeah, that's what is there? What is this here then? Yeah, barriers for who? For who? For us?
The city's on edge. This is not a crowd to lie or lecture to.
We seek to do,
Close the border!
and what we seek to do is to make sure that all the resources are necessary and that we are joining with the city and state administration.
Normally I'm like, I want to hear what she has to say, but I'm cool with everyone shouting over her. I bet you not everyone in that crowd is also a Republican either.
Right. They're not. So what they've done is they've this is backfiring big time on the Democrats and on the liberals, because they're forcing this issue down people's throats, and why it frankly doesn't even make sense, because they got enough Democrat voters in New York. They don't need to ship people in to get more of them.
Exactly.
Right. Which is why largely for a long time they were focusing on shipping them into Texas and Arizona and places like that, because they're like, well, let's see if we can turn those blue, and they've turned parts of those states blue, sure, certainly, but not as a whole yet. Praise God.
Exactly.
But what this is backfiring because the people of New York are waking up, and I think people all across the country are starting to wake up. So hopefully this will continue for this new movement of people to realize what they've been voting for all the past however many years, and start to actually change the tide a little bit.
Well, I would even argue saying, like, I think you and I are both in favor of anyone who comes here legally has the right to become a citizen, and then they'll be treated just as equally as everybody else in terms of rights. However, I also think there is a smidgen of sympathy for those who are coming from troubling places. However, no one wants someone in their backyard, figuratively or literally.
Well, but the reality is, they're shipping their criminals here.
Exactly.
They're not taking the best of the best and saying, hey, all of you people that are good citizens, why don't you go to another
It's
country?
the cartels, the human trafficking.
Right. Exactly.
The drugs.
Exactly. So really, they've destroyed all but destroyed the state of California. The liberals have destroyed Chicago. You got stores pulling out all across the country in these blue cities and blue states because they can't. And then they're being overrun by homeless, drugs, mentally ill, and illegal immigration.
I think in the next 20 years we're going to see a lot more Detroits, and there are going to be some cities that we don't expect.
And we have the illegal immigrants are crime also. The crime's increasing because of that, which we talked about a lot about that today. But I agree with you though. I think you're going to start to see. Frankly, I think what's one that may potentially be coming, San Francisco.
Then in LA, I think San Francisco's further ahead though.
Yeah,
from what I've heard.
So anyway, I do want to say, kind of in closing here, that all hope isn't lost. Actually, some of these negatives, I think in some places, like you're saying in New York City, it's finally starting to get bad enough to turn the tide, right?
Exactly.
And sadly to say, there's a lot of ignorant people. It has to get worse before it can get better. And I think we might be getting near the bottom, right? But the other thing to remember is, through all of this, God's still on the throne.
Absolutely,
right?
100%.
And what's crazy to think about, even with Obama, even with Biden, no one gets into power except for that God allows them to be, right?
Exactly.
So God's the author of all of this. He knows what's going on, and he's still on the throne. He's still in control. And at the end of the day, the Bible says every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. Anyway, that's my closing thoughts. Have a great day. God bless.